Now at 5, a miles-long convoy passes through the area en route to our nation's capital, protesting COVID mandates.
Russia and Ukraine hold crisis talks as the fighting rages on. I'm Natalie, Brandt in Washington with the latest international efforts to help Ukraine and the signs that economic sanctions are taking a toll on Russia.
And we check out a unique technology to help detect rare diseases.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Convoy rolled through the area today en route to Washington, D.C. This is KOAM News at 5. The miles-long group of trucks, RVs, vans, and other vehicles is called the People's Convoy. Left California 1 week ago, heading to Washington, calling for an end to the COVID national emergency that the group says led to overreaching mandates.
Well, I think it's been going on long enough, and the state of emergency, the mandates, everybody's already back to normal life, so it's time that Washington sees that as well.
Convoy expects to arrive in our nation's capital on March 5th. People gathered along overpasses along the interstate to show their support for the convoy. This is not the correct video, but we can tell you some waved flags and handmade signs. One supporter said their goal is to raise awareness of what they see as government overreach in imposing pandemic-related mandates. One protester told us, quote, "It's our God-given right to do with our bodies as we please." New York City plans to end both the school mask mandate and vaccine mandate for indoor dining and entertainment 1 week from today, as long as COVID numbers continue to fall. The state of New York will drop its mask requirements for schools on Wednesday. On Capitol Hill, House leaders say masks will be optional at President Biden's State of the Union address tomorrow. The rollbacks follow the CDC's decision Friday to loosen mask-wearing guidelines for most Americans as COVID cases continue to drop across the nation. Hospitalizations have fallen by 70%, suggesting the worst of the Omicron surge is over. A Southwest Missouri woman is dead from an early morning car crash. It happened on Lawrence County Road 1110, a mile west of Miller. 50-year-old Lori Reed of Miller, Missouri, was a passenger in a car that left the road and overturned a little before 2 this morning. She was pronounced dead 90 minutes later. The driver was in serious condition. Checking in with Nick Kelly now for a first look at the weather.
This has been a pretty good way to wrap up the month of February, Dow, the last day of February 2022. Even though we had to deal with quite a bit of cloud cover, we kept things dry and temperatures certainly mild, with at the very least lower to middle 60s this afternoon. Nothing on the radar network despite some cloud cover passing on through, but this is not threatening cloud cover. It's just due to a weak upper level wave passing nearby, but not much else to speak of. With a quick look around the lower 48, certainly nothing coming our way, that's for sure. We've already started to see numbers drop back into lower 60s across much of the regions, but mid-upper 60s still prevalent in our far western counties. But eventually, we're all going to fall through the 50s, 40s, down mainly into the upper 30s later on tonight. We're going to kick off March with this mild stretch continuing down. We'll take a look at that in our next chance for storms here in a bit.
See you then. Russia and Ukraine held their first talks today as the conflict between both countries entered a 5th day. Ukraine says its military defense has been strong, causing Russia to suffer heavy losses. The sanctions the U.S. and its Western allies have placed on Russia also appear to be taking a toll. Reporter Natalie Brandt has the latest on the crisis in Ukraine.
After 5 hours of talks, Russian and Ukrainian delegations agreed to resume negotiations in the near future, but the fighting still rages on. A senior defense official says Russian forces could attempt to encircle Ukraine's capital of Kyiv in the coming days, as average citizens join the country's military to fight to defend itself. President Zelensky has applied for immediate membership into the European Union.
Russia has decided to turn its back to peace.
During a rare emergency assembly session at the United Nations, representatives for the EU and other world leaders addressed Russia's growing aggression, including the Kremlin's decision to put its nuclear weapons on high alert.
The mere idea of a nuclear conflict is simply inconceivable.
The Pentagon says it has yet to see any specific movements that could be associated with Russian President Vladimir Putin's nuclear threat.
We believe it's as unnecessary as it is escalatory, but we're reviewing and analyzing that.
Here on Capitol Hill, lawmakers are receiving a classified briefing on the crisis as the Biden administration asks Congress for billions of dollars in defense and humanitarian assistance for Ukraine.
Meanwhile, unprecedented economic consequences against Russia continue to pile up. Monday, the Biden administration imposed additional sanctions targeting Russia's central bank. And this weekend, the U.S. and allies kicked most Russian banks out of SWIFT, an international bank messaging system that makes global transactions easier. The Russian ruble plunged 30% as people there line up to try and get their money from Russian banks. Natalie, Brandt, CBS News, Washington.
President Biden is set to highlight Russia's invasion of Ukraine during his first State of the Union address tomorrow night. Today, FIFA and the UEFA suspended Russians' national teams and clubs from all competition until further notice. The mass exodus of people, mostly women and children, from Ukraine into neighboring countries shows no sign of slowing down. The UN now estimates 500,000 people have fled their homes. Some people have been traveling for days with only what they can carry, but they're being met with open arms and volunteers as they cross the borders, providing food and other assistance. Up next, the new technology using artificial intelligence to help diagnose rare diseases, and the foods to help you get a good night's sleep. Those stories coming up in Healthwatch.
At longjohnsilvers.com,
Topping today's Health Watch is estimated up to 30 million Americans are living with a rare disease. One of the biggest challenges is getting an accurate diagnosis. Well, on this Rare Disease Day, reporter Bradley Blackburn shows us how modern technology finally found answers for the family of a young boy.
90-year-old Keegan Batavio is a kind, active kid who works hard to overcome his struggles. When he was younger, his mom, Christy, says she knew something wasn't right.
All your milestones were delayed. And by the time he was 4, he was definitely delayed in speech and physical activities.
She reported her concerns to doctors, but did not get the right diagnosis until they saw geneticist Dr. Karen Grip. She used FDNA's Face-to-Gene app, which combines artificial intelligence and unique technology to detect rare diseases.
We can take pictures of patients, have the algorithm analyze the facial features, and provide suggestions of potentially matching diagnoses.
It was a matter of, I'm saying, 3 minutes we had a diagnosis.
FDNA's database contains thousands of patients' pictures, and the technology can identify up to 5,000 rare diseases.
It allows clinicians to think and consider diagnoses that we would not naturally consider. For example, because a condition is so rare that even a clinical geneticist like me has never seen a patient with it.
Keegan has Smith-Lemli-Opitz syndrome, a developmental disorder that can impact learning and behavior, affecting around 1 in 40,000 people.
What has that diagnosis meant for you and for Keegan?
It has given us somewhere to start.
Christy says even if the road to diagnosis is frustrating,
the sooner you can find out, the sooner you can get the services and help that your child needs.
Parents shouldn't give up. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News.
The Face-to-Gene app is free of charge to all pediatric doctors. Keegan's information will now be added to FDNA's database to potentially help other kids. Gender-affirming medical interventions may help transgender and non-binary young people with common mental health struggles. It's according to a JAMA study that found treatments including puberty blockers and hormone therapy helped lessen the odds of depression and suicidal thoughts over 12 months. A study in the New England Journal of Medicine finds the use of inhaled cortizoids in addition to medications improved asthma outcomes in Black and Latinx communities. Those groups face higher hospitalization and mortality rates from asthma compared to white patients, but haven't been the focus of previous studies about the treatment. Preliminary study findings suggest working out may be key to lowering the risk of Alzheimer's disease. Researchers in Washington, D.C. took a look at older military veterans and found those categorized as the most physically fit were 33% less likely to develop the disease compared to those in the least fit group. And a group of doctors and nutritionists shares a list of the best foods to eat to get a good night's sleep. Topping the list are almonds, which are a natural source of melatonin, which is a hormone naturally produced by the brain related to sleep and sleep cycles. Another item on the list is walnuts, which they say contain several nutrients that help promote good sleep, such as serotonin and magnesium. Specialists also include bananas, as they're rich in carbohydrates, tryptophan, and melatonin. Other suggestions are chamomile tea, oats, salmon eggs, and avocados. And that is a look at today's health news. A little bit later, online romance scams involving cryptocurrency.
But first, I'm tracking mild temperatures for the next several days, and down the road, our next chance for storms. We'll break it all down next. We have finally made it to the end of February, and it was nice that we wrapped up the month this time around on quite a mild note. So let's just go ahead and dive into the forecast. First, a live look from Indigo Sky Casino and Resort outside of Seneca, Missouri. Nice to see the sun out there, even though we've had cloud cover filtering through during the course of the afternoon, but that was certainly expected for today. And we were still expecting that even with the clouds, temperatures, we're not going to waste any time trending milder today. After we had highs in the lower to middle 50s yesterday, we dropped back near 30 this morning. Highs at the very least, Joplin Regional Show, where most of us topped out. Lower to middle 60s. In fact, the official high was 64. So if we wrap up the month of February here, certainly a lot better than how last February went. We all recognize or remember, even though we don't want to, that the cold snap that took a hold across our region and much of the Central Plains for the middle of the month. But this time around, just over half of the 28 days had above normal temperatures, was certainly the colder numbers behind some potent storm systems that we were tracking. For this time, though, cloud cover is out there, sure, but that's not threatening cloud cover at all. We're dry in Joplin with a temperature of 60, southwest wind at 11 miles per hour, trying to gust near 15 at times. But look at these numbers, a lot better as we wrap up the month of February. Most of us around 60 in southwestern Missouri, but we go from 61 in Pittsburgh to 71 over in Fredonia. So certainly mild to get this evening underway, and we'll take it because of our southwest wind that we've seen throughout the day at 5 to 15 miles per hour. And we've even had some gusts at times pushing near 20 to 25 miles per hour. Thankfully, that south breeze remains in place for the night. That means we'll just fall through the 50s, 40s, most of us still down to the mid to upper 30s for overnight lows tonight. Nothing again underneath our cloud cover, not just here, but across the entire four-state region. No big features on the surface map. There's high pressure working over Louisiana, keeping that south wind in place. And not to mention this upper level ridge out west starting to build in. But do you see these two upper lows near the Gulf of Alaska? That is our next storm system brewing, with eventually bringing in rain and thunderstorm chances. But thankfully, it's not in the short term, that's for sure. We'll get the last of the cloud cover that we have in place out of here after 10 o'clock tonight. Then looking good, mostly clear. A little cold to start your Tuesday morning out, but we'll only drop back to 38, better than the 30 we started this morning with. Then as we go throughout the course of the day, nothing but mostly sunny skies all day long, and the southwest wind at 5 to 15 and some gusts near 20. We'll go to 64 by noon, and we'll push 71 for the first Tuesday afternoon in the month of March, with some of you even trying to push into the mid-70s before the day is all said and done, especially west of Joplin. The jet stream setup keeps that ridge right on top of the region, so that keeps the lower 70s in place for Wednesday and Thursday as we stay dry. Heading into the weekend, though, I want to keep Friday dry, but we'll see a lot more cloud cover build in. But then we'll have to see how these storm systems out west will pass on through. I'll have to watch for thunderstorm chances. Some of them could be strong by Saturday, and maybe another shot for potentially some strong storms by Sunday before we really cool back down as we go into next Monday. But we got plenty of time to watch those weekend rain chances in the coming days now. But let's enjoy this beautiful start to the month of March. 71 tomorrow, 73 Wednesday, 72 Thursday. Certainly well deserved after all the winter storms we faced this last month.
You know what they say about March, though? If you're in like a lamb, it'll go out like a lion. I don't know.
Hopefully we go in like a lamb and go out like a lamb.
That would be nice. And boy, February has been a wild month. We've been all over the place from spring-like temperatures to winter storms.
Yeah, heading right back to spring for sure tomorrow.
That sounds good. Thanks, Nick. A UN climate report out today finds that human-caused climate change has left more than 40% of the world's population highly vulnerable. The panel found that climate is changing faster than scientists anticipated, and countries have failed to curb planet-warming carbon emissions. President Biden and other world leaders have pledged to limit global warming to no more than 1.5 degrees Celsius compared with pre-industrial levels. But the report finds governments are falling short of the goal for net zero carbon emissions by the year 2050. Still ahead, a new twist to online romance scams. First, though, we honor a local World War II veteran. Laverne Gardner served in the U.S. Navy in the South Pacific. His hometown, Pittsburgh. And we are proud to salute Gunner Laverne Gardner, a four-state hero. And you can learn about lots of other heroes. We have more than 3,000 of them in our database. You can also submit a hero of your own anytime. We're always looking for more from any era or currently serving service member. Just go to our website. That's koamnewsnow.com. Topping today's Consumer Watch, another company is pulling back on its presence in Russia in response to the invasion of Ukraine. BP says it's exiting its stake in Rosneft, a Russian-controlled oil and gas company. After nearly 2 years of the pandemic, about 60% of people who are working from home say they're doing so by choice. That's according to a recent Pew Research study. While the number of people working from home is down from the height of the pandemic, it's significantly higher than pre-pandemic. The study showed that many people are opting to work remotely because they have a better work-life balance. The growing popularity of cryptocurrency has led to a rising number of scams. One woman says she lost millions to someone she thought was a friend. Cheryl Fiandoca reports.
He said his name was Jimmy, handsome, young, and in the U.S. alone. Last October, Cindy Tsai says he accidentally messaged her on WhatsApp.
Are you Linda from the pet store? And I messaged back and said, wrong number.
That seemingly innocent exchange quickly escalated into Cindy sharing personal information, including her cancer diagnosis.
Very much a comfort for me at that time. In my mind, it was a relationship.
Within weeks, Jimmy showed Cindy how much money he was making trading in cryptocurrency and offered to help her invest on the platform he was using.
So he said, you're not giving me a dime. This is completely controlled by you.
Jimmy gave her a link, and Cindy set up the account.
And they'll click on those hyperlinks. It will take them to a site that is either spoofed or very close to the legitimate site.
What was the total amount you invested?
Everything said and done, $2.5 million.
The FBI estimates in 2021, 24,000 people fell victim to these type of scams, losing about $1 billion.
With cryptocurrency, it's different. If you give somebody your digital wallet, that is gone instantly. There is no clearing process, so it's very difficult for law enforcement to track that.
Cindy says she became suspicious after having a hard time withdrawing money. But by then, it was too late.
It's interesting the disconnect between your logical self and your emotional self. And I think I was probably the most vulnerable in my entire life. I desperately wanted to believe him.
Cindy says that clouded her judgment. She's now sharing her story to help prevent others from becoming a victim of this scam. Cheryl Fiandoca, CBS News, Boston.
Authorities say do not invest with people you only meet online. Do your research. Don't click on hyperlinks for trading platforms and never share banking information. Final check of the forecast next. Up next on the CBS Evening News, world reaction as President Putin puts Russian nuclear forces on special alert. Then on KOAM News at 6, the message of people participating in that coast-to-coast convoy journey passing through the area, plus what new CDC COVID guidelines mean for people in the 4 states. And a candidate has already jumped into the race to fill the seat of Oklahoma Senator Jim Inhofe, who announced he will not finish his term in office. Stay with us for the CBS Evening News and then KOAM News at 6. Well, we're going to be starting a new month on the right note for sure, Nick.
Yeah, an early start to spring, but we'll take it, considering we'll keep skies quiet for the next few days as well. We'll go 71 at the very least for tomorrow afternoon. We'll continue with lower, if not mid-70s, all the way through Thursday. Staying mild for the coming weekend, but we'll start the weekend dry before we watch for incoming thunderstorm chances by Saturday and Sunday now.
Looks very spring-like right through the thunderstorm chances.
Yes, it does.
Thanks for joining us. CBS Evening News is next, and of course, we're going to be right back here for KOAM News at 6. See you then. Let's make it a great evening.